UAPs, that whole topic that a lot of people have been talking about, one of my personal favorite topics, because ultimately it gets to the big questions, okay? As human beings, we have sought to understand the nature of this reality, and there's so much that we still don't know. Mountain Dew, Baja Blast, good stuff. Give me a fucking sponsorship. But yeah, there's a lot of the most important questions in our existence, about our existence, concerning our existence, that humanity has sought to answer for eons, ever since we gained the ability to think and comprehend. I can't imagine what life must have been like as a cave person who's just existing on Earth, not knowing what the hell is going on, and then dealing with pain, dealing with suffering, not knowing which plants are safe and edible and which are poisonous. All these different predators that are seeking their blood, their flesh, and just living life without knowing virtually anything. Which is why it's so crazy that now in the modern age, we are on the cusp of an intelligence and education knowledge explosion, such that we're going to start to really understand everything. Okay, we're building tools that are helping us to understand the nature of our reality, to help us to further see out into space, in the seas, in the oceans, understand our planet, the atmosphere, and everything that's in it, our ecosystems, and our place in it. Our level of understanding is growing faster and faster and faster, especially considering the fact that we have the internet, mass communication, AI, all these things that are allowing us to trade information efficiently and effectively. Okay? And that's one of the main reasons why we have the situation with the UAPs. Because one of the biggest questions that we've asked ourselves as human beings is simply, are we alone? Is it just us out here? Is there other life out there? And if so, as the astrophysicist Enrico Fermi brilliantly noted, where is everybody? See, because here's the thing. According to the Fermi paradox, the reason why it's a paradox is because, based on our current understanding of the universe, of astrophysics, astronomy, what have you, we've discovered billions upon billions of galaxies, perhaps trillions, each of which has billions upon billions, perhaps trillions, of stars in each galaxy. And then each star has about 1.6 planets per star. So with these absurd, insane, ridiculously astronomical numbers, these unfathomable numbers, especially considering the fact that the universe is about 13.8 billion years old, you would think that there would be clear, unequivocal, unquestionable evidence for the existence of alien life. You would think that we would see megastructures everywhere. We'd see spaceships flying all across the fucking space, and we'd see freaking Star Wars X-esque, space wars and laser beams flying and all types of shit. But the opposite is true. We don't see a goddamn thing. Now, here's the deal, right? Our technological innovation is only in its infancy. There's still so much to learn and so much engineering to be done. The James Webb Space Telescope is arguably the greatest tool developed by human beings. It's allowing us to see galaxies that we never saw before. It's allowing us to see things humanity has never ever seen before. But here's the thing. And shout out to Isaac Arthur on YouTube, one of my favorite channels. Y'all should go check it out and look it up. But the James Webb is not the best that we can do. See, the thing about the James Webb and why it was in so much development hell is because the biggest issue that caused the cost overruns and the delay in time for construction is the fact that it needed to fold to fit in a rocket ship that could take it from Earth into space. Why is that important? Because according to the laws of physics, you can only carry but so much up into space. However, if you can construct these kinds of telescopes in space, there's a much higher limit to the size of the telescope that you could create. And the reason why that's important is because you have a larger aperture, if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me because I'm not an astrophysicist, but from what I've read, you have a much higher capability of building larger and larger telescopes if you're able to construct them in space unimpeded by having to actually launch them into space. Which is why space is the next frontier, because there's so much that we could accomplish if we're able to master our ability to develop manufacturing and machine work in space. Oh my God, it's good. And so the whole thing is, just think about that. The James Webb Space Telescope, I'm not entirely up on the dimensions of it, but it's not that huge of a telescope. It's bigger than the Hubble Space Telescope. Shout out to the Hubble. It's been, what, 30 years and going strong? If not more. But the point is, we can build bigger and better telescopes in space. And so it just goes to show us that our manufacturing capabilities are in their infancy. We haven't even tapped into our full potential concerning our ability to create and develop these technologies so that they can help us see even farther and even clearer into space. And that's the whole point. We have barely just begun actually looking into the stars, looking into space and seeing what the hell is out there. So it's very possible that we just haven't discovered aliens yet because maybe they're just too far away from us to detect. The only thing about that hypothesis is the mere fact that, considering the age of the universe, considering how much time has elapsed, and considering how we discovered that galaxies began to form much earlier than previously expected, you would think that by now there would be ancient civilizations that have far surpassed our current capabilities, such that they would be apparent of detection, right? That we would find all kinds of ancient civilizations that have warp speed, that have the ability for time travel or some shit like that. Which brings us to the topic of today. The actual UAP sightings that have been alleged by various people throughout the United States, throughout history, and recently in Las Vegas. Because now here's another question, right? Or another issue, I should say. Think about if it's actually true that there's some ancient civilization that has actually mastered the laws of physics, what that would look like. But see, that's possibly the issue. Maybe you couldn't know what they would look like because they would be so advanced that they'd be able to hide themselves. I mean, there's no telling what mastering the laws of physics actually means. I mean, we could try to do thought experiments and try to think about the things that are possible and impossible based on our understanding currently. But that's the thing. That's our current understanding. And we still haven't even been able to put together general relativity with quantum field theory. And the reason why that's important is because it shows that there's clearly so much more about the nature of our reality that we simply don't understand. It's possible that an ancient, super advanced civilization is able to actually not just hide themselves, but cloak themselves, to use stealth, to be able to monitor us from a large distance using some device that they developed of some kind. I mean, who knows, right? I mean, there's no telling what kind of capabilities they might have based on their advanced development. And that's precisely the point, that there could be civilizations that are so advanced that currently we couldn't even comprehend what they would even be like. Because they're so advanced, because their understanding is so deep and crazy that we couldn't even comprehend it. That it would be just beyond our comprehension. Because who knows what kinds of things they could discover, what those discoveries allowed them to do, what kind of capabilities are unlocked as a result of these discoveries. That's why it's so important to have such a high value on science, and that's one of the reasons why I'm so anti-religious, because I feel like religion hinders our ability to discover what we're truly capable of as a human race. It's absolutely absurd. Just in the past couple hundred years, the rate of development that humanity has undergone based on our pursuit of science, based on the developments that have been made using the scientific method. And if you take things to their logical conclusion, it's possible, in fact, I would say even likely, it's likely that we could become like gods. What we perceive to be gods could be our destiny as human beings. And that's the point, that by pursuing science, by learning as much as we can about the nature of our reality, we can improve upon ourselves as individuals, as a society, as a human race. Whether we're talking about genetic modification, whether we're talking about life extension, whether we're talking about, eradicating various diseases from the gene pool, eradicating addiction, eradicating traumas, actually beginning to understand the human brain. Things that would allow us to even be able to traverse the universe without experiencing adverse effects on our bodies. One of the reasons why space is so difficult for us humans to traverse is because our bodies are not made for space. From the many experiments that have been done and the many, space trips that various people, various astronauts have undergone, they've experienced all kinds of adverse effects as a result of being in space. Whether you're talking about weakening bone density and all kinds of health effects. And so the point is, imagine if we're able to modify our bodies so that our bodies are now suitable for space travel. and then pairing that with life extension technologies such that not only are our bodies suitable, but we can just actually go out and about and explore space on some fucking Star Trek type shit. And see, here's my thing. One of the reasons why I always talk about us humans is because we got to think about traversing the universe from our perspective and trying to think about what it would be like for us to travel space, because these are the things that aliens would have to undergo. And while people always try to say things like, oh, well, it's hard to talk about aliens because they're aliens, so we can't know what kind of things they're thinking about and how their motivations are. But at the end of the day, I feel like we can, because for an alien civilization to become a spacefaring civilization, they have to have some form of logic. They have to have science. They have to have science. And so by having science, they would need to have a science-based mentality. And also, they would have to have their own version of the Fermi paradox. Because if we're experiencing it, surely they are too, considering how vast the universe is and considering our current capabilities. I mean, the James Webb Space Telescope is at the L2 Lagrange point right now and is able to detect some of the oldest galaxies we've ever seen. We're looking at planets in our solar system when we can see them clear as day in ways that we haven't seen them before. That's not to say that we have the clearest view of the universe right now, because obviously we don't. I mean, we have the clearest view we've ever had in human history, but this is not our potential. We barely scratched the surface in terms of reaching our potential for developing tools that allow us to understand our reality as much as possible. And so the point is, aliens would have to have that mentality too for them to be able to traverse the universe. Either that, or they'd have to have some crazy natural ability that allows them to traverse the universe without a super spaceship or understanding the speed of light, having to develop, you know, space travel techniques and all that type of shit. And since I doubt that such, you know, capabilities exist for any life form, I could be wrong, but at the end of the day, it is very possible that life is difficult to, intelligent life is difficult to develop, and that any intelligent life with the capabilities of, you know, manipulating their environment, they would have to have inquisitive minds in order to traverse the universe. So when people say that they've seen aliens or UAP, rather, UFOs, if they actually were alien, these aliens would have to have such an extreme amount of logic. They'd have to have intelligence to such a degree that, as I've said before, we couldn't even fathom it. Their wisdom, their knowledge would have to be so vast that they are just merely on another level of understanding that we could even begin to comprehend. Then, of course, there's the idea that, you know, aliens could be AIs or robots. Which makes sense because any intelligent species would be seeking to automate their activity for easier methodologies for learning about reality. I mean, computing has transformed our entire way of life. I mean, you can look at me right now. I'm always on the computer, 24/7. I am pretty much a cyborg at all times. And that's the point. We are becoming a spacefaring potential civilization. And part of that is because of computing and the way it has improved our lives and allowed us to perform tasks so much easier. I mean, writing papers alone. You can write a paper so much faster by typing than by writing the words. So you can become more efficient. And now that we have AI, we don't even have to write papers anymore. We can just have the AI write the paper, and then we can just modify it to our, to our will, to our own liking, personalize it, and then now we have a paper. And if you take that to its logical conclusion, it opens the door to eventually us automating as everything. That's the reason why we have machine learning right now. It's the reason why we have AI. That's why we have these discussions about potential AGI, artificial general intelligence, or ASI, artificial super intelligence, because that these are topics that influence, or should I say, are the plots of movies like the Terminator series or the Matrix, and how automation could enslave us, how we could replace ourselves with machines. Even though I venture to say we wouldn't replace ourselves with machines, we just become machine-like, because with automation, with genetic modification, developments in material science, and what have you, they give us the ability to actually improve upon our humanity, improve upon our life extension, improve upon our quality of life, our health. Like I said earlier, the ability to eradicate different ailments from the human gene pool. Imagine the society where we get rid of all cystic fibrosis, the flu, fucking cancer, AIDS, HIV, COVID, any disease, any virus, any injury that you could think of. Imagine us being able to eradicate that completely from the human race so that we all could be perfectly healthy. This wildfire that's happening now. Imagine a wildfire happening and being completely averse to it. Or should I say immune to it. Imagine it having no effect on you because you have lungs of steel as a result of genetic modification. These things matter because we're thinking about aliens. And so imagine an ancient civilization, an ancient advanced civilization that becomes trans-alien, whatever their respective race is. You know what I'm saying? Like, imagine if they modified themselves and were able to actually travel across the universe. That's one of the reasons why when I see movies about like manned spacecrafts of aliens that travel all the way across space only to crash on Earth and be susceptible to us, it doesn't make any sense to me. As much as I love, Independence Day, love the movie, but it's an absolutely absurd concept, because if you had an alien race with the capability of traveling all the way to Earth from another freaking solar system or even another galaxy, we would be incapable of doing anything with them, because their level of understanding would be so advanced. I feel like they wouldn't even have a need to try to conquer us, because what would be the point of that? They would be so advanced, there is nothing that they would be able to actually gain from us other than just the knowledge that we exist. Because you got to think about it from our perspective. If we were able to travel to other solar systems and galaxies, what would we be thinking about doing? Would we be going to other planets trying to conquer planets? Why? For what? We're already so advanced that we could travel there in the first place. You feel what I'm saying? The level of ingenuity, engineering, innovation that you would need to be able to successfully travel to another solar system, especially in a manned spacecraft, would make you so advanced that there is literally nothing that that civilization could do to us. It'd be like in the islands on the coast of Brazil where they have that tribe, that ancient, you know, whatever you call them, that savage tribe. Those, you know, that uncontacted civilization where they're still trapped in ancient humanity. They're still like hunter gatherers and shit. It'd be the equivalent of them throwing spears at an airplane. It'd be that kind of equivalent, except maybe to an even higher degree, because we're talking about fools that have mastered the laws of physics so much so that they can engineer ships that will allow them to travel to other solar systems and galaxies, especially if they're able to travel to different galaxies. Because due to dark energy, dark matter, and all that, that is what's principal, at least from what I understand, to the acceleration of expansion of the universe, and that the acceleration is so fast, I mean technically faster than the speed of light, to the point where with our current understanding of physics it would be impossible to travel to another galaxy unless we were able to develop warp speed or wormholes or some shit like that. You feel what I'm saying? So that's the whole thing. Like, so the point is, if there were an actual civilization that was capable of traveling here from another solar system, from another planet, they would be so advanced that there was nothing that we could do to stop them. And at the same time, not only would they be so advanced, but I feel like they would come in peace. Because even though, and I always forget his name, the late great Stephen Hawking. The late great Stephen Hawking feared what it would be like if we did discover aliens, because he felt like they would be more like how the British were in terms of being conquerors. You feel what I'm saying? But I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. I mean, look, I could be wrong, and I'll be the first to say I don't know everything. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a genius. I'm not an astrophysicist. I've never discovered aliens, so I could be totally wrong. But I try to think from a logical perspective. I try to think from how I would think about things if I were an intelligent, advanced alien, right? So there's this concept in astronomy concerning the Fermi paradox. Okay, so to reiterate, the Fermi paradox is about how, despite the billions of galaxies, the billions of stars in each galaxy, and the 1.6 planets per star, that we don't see clear evidence for alien life. Like concrete, unquestionable, clear-cut evidence for the existence of alien life. So there's been a lot of proposed solutions, right? So as an example, there's what's called the zoo hypothesis. And the idea of that is that there is an ancient civilization that exists. And not only that there is an ancient civilization that exists, but they've already discovered us. They're actively monitoring us. In fact, they're monitoring us to the point where maybe they have some kind of von Neumann probe, some AI probe that's literally monitoring everything we do, all of our human activity, waiting for a chance to introduce themselves to us once we reach a certain level. That once we discover some kind of technology, that's when they activate and then they say hello to us. Or maybe they're just monitoring us for the sake of monitoring us. Maybe they have no actual plans or desires to introduce themselves to us, but that they are just monitoring us to catalog us. I mean, think about us looking out into space. And like, as an example, we hypothesized that Alpha Centauri, the Alpha Centauri star system, could be not only suitable for life, but it could be like a super Earth, a system with the super Earth, specifically Proxima b. Right? Now let's say we develop a new space telescope, one that's manufactured in space, one that has a giant, large aperture that is capable of actually looking into the atmosphere, looking into a planet, looking directly into it. Like, it has such great imaging capabilities, we could literally look inside a planet if it's close enough to see what's in it. And we discover, without a doubt, that Proxima b is teeming with life. Right? Now, let's say that the life that we discover is their equivalent of dinosaurs for us, right? They have life. They have, I guess you would call that intelligent life, right? Because I mean, a dinosaur isn't intelligent, but it has a brain, right? So imagine we discover that. We discover their equivalent of lions and tigers and horses and all that type of shit, right? We could say, oh, let's go down there and visit. Or we might just say, you know what, let's just keep an eye on them. First of all, let's announce to the world we have discovered aliens. They actually exist. We actually have live footage of these aliens, at least, you know, according to the distance of light and all that type of shit. I don't know exactly how that works. That's one of the things about the universe that's crazy too. Space-time. Like, if we see a planet, we're seeing it as it was, not as it is in real time, due to the amount of time it takes for light to travel. So the whole thing is, we could see a planet that might not necessarily motivate us to go down and actually interact with it. Even though, if we're that advanced, what's to stop a certain individual or certain private group from saying, you know what, fuck it, we want to go down there exploring. We want to see what's up. We want to make contact for the sake of making contact, because it would just be a monumental chance for humanity to, you know, do something that's never been done before. Right? So, who knows? You know what I mean? I always have these issues when it comes to talking about aliens, because on one hand, I feel like, say us right now, here right now, we're not all scientifically literate people. Even myself, I know a thing or two because I read a lot, but I couldn't tell you the first step to building a rocket ship, let alone manning one. And even if I could, I'm too afraid to do the shit. I'm afraid of heights. I don't even like airplanes. Last time I took an airplane, I'm like, you know what, this shit sucks. I'd rather stay on the ground, thank you. Right? But we have specialists, astronauts, people who are in astrophysics, whose jobs it is to do these things, to help build these things, to navigate, and all these different things. So Bruce Willis isn't going and grabbing a fucking spaceship and hightailing it into space, right? You're not gonna see some commando Arnold Schwarzenegger type hijack a fucking spaceship and take it into space and go on fucking nefarious space missions and shit like that, right? We're just not at that point where space travel is so ubiquitous that people just do it on a Thursday because why not, right? Space is still something where you have to be a very, very special, particular person with a specific set of skills and capabilities such that you can go to space in the first place. And it's not like you're going to be out in space living life. You're going to be out there for just a little bit because the human body can only take being in space, but for so long. And so that's why I keep mentioning these things, because you got to think about an alien civilization, how they would go about doing things, the timing of them doing things, the way that they would go about doing things. See, because here's the thing. And it's funny because I had never thought of this until recently when I was watching Cool Worlds and John Michael Gaudier, other YouTube channels that y'all should definitely check out. But the thing about it is that, say, when people are claiming to see UFOs, or when we have footage of strange phenomena in space or in the sky, we have no idea what that shit is. And for all we know, those could be alien in nature. However, the thing is that they could be probes, unmanned probes that crash land. As an example, right now we got a planned idea, a concept called the Breakthrough Starshot mission, where we launch a whole bunch of nanoprobes using laser beams. That's probably the fucking dirtiest shit I've ever said in my life, yo. But we're shooting nanoprobes using laser beams, the lasers, so that they can hightail it over into Alpha Centauri, take a few pictures as they fly by so we can see what's up. And from what I have read, and this could be outdated information by now, but from what I have read, these probes would take about 30 years or so to get there. And then it would take a decent amount of time for the pictures to come back. So we expect a lot of these probes to probably fizzle out, get burnt out, get destroyed. So that's why we're sending a bunch of them, so that we can ensure that we get a decent amount that are able to make it and take good enough pictures for us to learn a little something about Alpha Centauri. So imagine a couple of these probes crash landing into Proxima B. Right? Now imagine there's a civilization alive there, an intelligent civilization, a technological civilization that exists, that's alive. And they're like, yo, what the fuck is this in the sky? And that could be the type of shit that we're seeing here on Earth, that we're seeing in Las Vegas. Some kind of probe that was sent from some alien civilization that they launched into space, you know. And so, like, we got the Voyager probes and things like that, where we launch them into space and then they're just out in space. And they might crash land somewhere. And just so happen that they crash land somewhere where there's life. But see, here's my thing though. Whenever people claim that they see aliens or see UAPs or UFOs, it always comes accompanied with a sight of seeing aliens. It's always accompanied with the sight of alien life forms. They always claim to see like oh, I saw a giant that was 10 feet tall coming from it. They always mention that these probes are being manned by some creature of some kind. And that's where my skepticism comes into play. Because if a species is capable of interstellar, interplanetary, or even intergalactic travel, I could be wrong. I don't see them crash landing if they have such a command of physics. Because one of the things about UAPs that a lot of people claim, and it makes sense, is that you can tell it's a UAP when it moves in ways that seem to defy our current laws of physics. And what I mean by that is, take an airplane. An airplane can only have so much movement. It doesn't have freedom of movement because it's such a large vehicle traveling at such a fast speed. It can only do so many things. It can't move like a drone. It can't move freely, right? You're not going to have a plane just moving like... You're never going to see a plane do that. You're never going to see a plane do that. They're so large and they don't have that kind of mobility like that. They don't have that level of freedom of movement. You feel what I'm saying? So as such, when we see phenomena that appears to move that way, the first thing we think is it must be an alien spacecraft of some kind, because for it to move like that symbolizes or demonstrates a level of engineering understanding that far surpasses ours. Because to this day, we don't know how to construct such vehicles. I mean, in the near future or the far future, you know, with AI, AGI, ASI, we could develop the capability to do that. We could discover the necessary understanding of the laws of physics to develop these capabilities. Or we may find that it's impossible. You never know. But if it is possible that we could develop a ship that could do a barrel roll, you know what I'm saying? That we could actually improve upon our capabilities of engineering to such that we can create spaceships, space probes that can move like that, that can be controlled like that. But until that's done, if we see aerial phenomena that does move that way, that's what intrigues us. That's what captures our imagination, because it's difficult for us to even comprehend the capability of such an advanced civilization. Most people don't even think about the fact that an advanced civilization would have such capabilities. So that is why, if there are aliens that are able to traverse the universe, you know, pop up whenever. I mean, look, I'm one of those people that I want to believe the aliens exist. I want to believe it. I want to believe it. Straight like that. You know, like, I've always liked space movies. I didn't really care about space, but once I took astronomy and started really thinking about these questions, I've been intrigued ever since. So I want to believe that aliens are for real. I want to just say that, you know, for the record, that I want to believe in aliens. I like the concept. I like the idea. I think it would be super cool for aliens to really be real. Every time I go outside, especially at night, to have a smoke, I'm always looking up into the sky because I want to be able to see something crazy. I've seen stories, I've seen videos of people describing what they think are alien spaceships that just pop out of nowhere. And I can believe it. If there exist aliens with the capabilities of traversing the universe with the mastery of the laws of physics that would allow them to do that, I can believe that you can have a super intelligent being that just pops up randomly at a random location, looks around just to check things out, and then they disappear. Knowing that even if they popped up in front of a lot of people, it's not a lot that they're going to be able to do. That it's easy for us to explain it away as some kind of crazy phenomena. Like it could be, people experiencing mass hysteria. Or maybe it is aliens and then they just know that there's nothing that people can do to confirm it. They have such an extreme capability of understanding of the laws of physics that it really doesn't matter what anybody does, because it just doesn't matter. Their capability is so advanced that even if we saw them with the naked eye, even if somebody was recording at the very precise moment that they were doing that, there's nothing anybody could do. Imagine being such an advanced civilization that you could do that. In fact, what if they knew that nobody was recording and that they could pop in and out before anybody goes to grab their camera, because they have that much advanced capability to see into our civilization, to see into our society, to actually look in and say, oh, look at what they're doing over there. Hey, guess what? Let's pop in real quick, check it out, see what's up. Let's fuck with them. Let's fuck with them. Let's just go over there, pop up, and just show ourselves and dip. I bet people would freak out. Because imagine what it would be like for us with that kind of capability. Like imagine, because think about this. If we take things to their logical conclusion concerning our level of technical prowess and scientific capabilities, I mean, there's the potential that we could become a hive mind civilization connected to a super intelligence, such that now we're all super intelligent. Now we're all interconnected. Now we can trade information to the extremist efficiency possible. I don't even know if extremist is a word. I mean, I know extremist as in like a person, but I mean extremist like most extreme. We can become the most extremely efficient species, or if we are replaced by, robots and nanomachines and what have you. Whatever. Imagine this civilization with super AGI, with the super understanding of the nature of reality, being able to send probes everywhere, or send manned ships everywhere. And you can literally pop into any civilization just to check it out. Imagine right now, right? Imagine if we had the capability of just popping up in another galaxy. Imagine we have the ability to develop wormholes and we could just travel through pockets of space-time. We could show up in the Andromeda galaxy, like in the next few minutes. Land on any planet if we wanted to. What kind of things would we do if we had that capability? And who and what would be doing it? Because if we became a hive mind system, if we all became hive minded to the point where now we're all a part of this super intelligent society, the super intelligent system, the possibilities become endless. in terms of what we could accomplish, in terms of where we would go and why we would do it. But more than likely, we would be doing it for the purposes of understanding and data gathering, intelligence gathering. And then the question remains, like, in such a system, would we maintain our individuality? Like, let's say someone like me. Let's say we're all a part of a super intelligent hive mind, but I'm still me. I still have my goals and my ambitions. And I'm like, hey, I want to be able to go to another planet just to look and see what it's like. And then the intelligence is like, fuck it. Here's a spaceship. Go out, check it out. And now me and a bunch of other hive-minded, like-minded individuals are able to take a spaceship that could just travel super fast or travel through a wormhole to another planet in the Andromeda Galaxy that we could detect life at, that we could detect intelligent life at, and we could just pop up and check it out for a couple minutes. Not even to do anything crazy, but just to check it out. Like, think about, like, imagine, as an example, like, here on Earth, there's the concept of the ancient aliens. There's the concept of the fact that, or the allegation that in ancient societies, they were actually seeing what could be described as alien probes or alien spaceships, and that influenced a lot of religion. God, this shit is good. I mean, just think about it. In ancient civilizations, even in, like, paintings from ancient times, you'll see what appears to be some kind of UAP in the sky depicted in those paintings. So let's say, for the sake of argument, that we knew for a fact that it was true, that those civilizations, those ancient civilizations, were being visited by aliens with advanced capabilities. And that was freaking people out and making them intrigued to the point where they had no idea what was going on. Like, what kind of impact would that have if you were a person living in that time with no scientific understanding pretty much at all, and you're seeing this crazy phenomena that you couldn't possibly understand? And then the aliens that were doing the traveling, just think, you're able to travel to this civilization. You're able to see that this civilization is still a primitive civilization. And you're just fascinated to see what that civilization must be like. Obviously, because they're still primitive to where they don't have advanced technology such as that which we have today. Just to see another civilization, another living, intelligent civilization, would be fascinating. And so for us, looking outward, if we had the ability to detect another civilization, I feel like everybody would be interested in seeing what they're like. Because, see, another thing too is that when we think about aliens, we're always thinking about aliens being super advanced. That's like all we think about. Because we're so what's the term? Arthrocentric? We're so focused on our own perception as Earthlings. We always think about aliens coming here. We never really think about going out there. We never really think about traveling outward to other civilizations and seeing other planets, other exomoons, exoplanets, maybe even asteroids possibly that could harbor life, but that may have civilizations that are inferior to ours, that are more primitive than ours, like that island off the coast of Brazil that I was talking about earlier. And that's the whole point. If we could be a fly on the wall in that type of a civilization to understand how they are, what their motivations are, how they conduct themselves, whether their rituals, whether their traditions, whether their practices, whether their values, I'm sure that would be intriguing to all of us, because it's another piece of knowledge that we can add to the knowledge bank, so that now we have more of an understanding, not just of the civilization, but of the universe that we inhabit, that we can know, okay, there are other civilizations that exist, and they practice these type of practices because X, Y, Z, A, B, C, and we can document it and add it to our knowledge base. You know, like, because we're inquisitive, because it's knowledge for knowledge's sake. And that's what I'm saying. Like, another ancient civilization would have to be super inquisitive, specifically for them to be at the level of advancement that they've reached to begin with. You don't just magically develop AI. You don't magically develop spaceships. They don't just happen. You actually have to work towards developing these things. You actually have to work towards understanding and innovating and discovering, trading that knowledge, developing a society that works together to understand as much about reality as possible, such that they can gain these capabilities. It takes intelligence. It takes cooperation, coordination, working interdependently with synergy. That's one of the reasons why I'm always talking about these sorts of things. That's why when I talk about politics and religion and all these different things, it is so vital that we talk about how we're able to move past these ridiculous differences we have, so that we can actually develop these capabilities, so that we can actually begin the process of really answering these questions. Because that's what it would take for us to become such a civilization, what's called a Kardashev civilization. There's 3 official levels to the Kardashev civilization, 1, 2, and 3. There's technically higher ones if you want to go into the multiverse rabbit hole, if it's even true, if it's even logical and possible. But namely, a Kardashev type 1 civilization can harness the energy output of a planet's host star onto the planet. So like right now, like fusion energy, essentially. Developing fusion energy would pretty much make us a Kardashev type 1 civilization. A type 2 civilization could harness the total energy output of a planet's host star in total. So if we were able to harness the power of the sun, the entire output of the sun, that would make us a type 2. And the type 3 civilization would be able to harness the total energy output of their entire home galaxy. So if we were able to harness the energy output of the Milky Way, we would become a Kardashev type 3. Then there's 4, where it's the universe, and 5, where it's the multiverse, and then you could go superverse and ultraverse and megaverse and whatever. That could be turtles all the way down for all we know. Right? But the point is, that's the scale that we measure a civilization's level of advancement. Any civilization that's above type 1, we would not have any ability to even contend with whatsoever. Right now, we're at about a 0.75, a type 0.75. We're not even at type 1 yet. Right? And that's the whole thing. Like, we still have a long way to go before we can actually start to make progress developing as a civilization. And so the whole point is, there is so much for us to learn. There's still so much for us to gain. There's still so much for us to develop and understand. We've barely even scratched the surface. So another civilization that's actually reached that level, that's actually capable of reaching a Kardashev type 1 and beyond type civilization, they would already have far surpassed us. And so if they're actually coming here to visit us, to see us, to monitor us, we would be powerless to stop it. We'd be powerless to do anything against them. But at the same time, they could be coming in peace, because it would mean that they have the capability of easily destroying us if they wanted to, if we are being visited by aliens. But the problem, the biggest problem that we have, is that we never have any actual clear-cut evidence that aliens actually do exist. Every claim that we have seen about alien sightings have produced nothing. Any footage we get is always blurry, is always questionable, and at the end of the day, they're not definitive whatsoever. We get the wild signal, shit like that, but we never get anything that's clear-cut, slam dunk, aliens. It is confirmed that this is not of Earth origin. This is from some exoplanet, exomoon, alien civilization. We have nothing definitive. That blue light in Las Vegas, there's no telling what that could be. For all we know, it's some kind of a borealis or some shit, or some kind of a light effect, some kind of a fucking firecracker. You know, it could be, you know, a freaking what's it called? A hologram. It could be a hologram for all we know. There's no telling what it was. And that's why jumping to conclusions is never a good idea to make. Because ultimately, while we want to believe these things, while I want to believe these things, we always have to try to keep an open, objective mind. Because you never know. The whole point about things like this is that they give us the ability to understand and discover what the fuck is going on in our existence. For all we know, it could be some kind of lighting effect that we previously did not understand. And it could have nothing to do with aliens or anything like that. It could be something environmental. It could be an experiment being conducted by the freaking, you know, FBI, CIA, NSA. It could be some kind of new supersonic freaking flight vehicle, airplane or some shit that some military contractor is testing, for all we know. We don't know. And that's what's always important to keep in mind, that at the end of the day, we just don't know. We don't know what the fuck is going on. And if we jump to conclusions, we'll never know. And that's why I always hark back to religion, man. Because that's essentially what religion does. It asserts claims that they cannot justify. And it causes people to close their minds off to being inquisitive and doing the work to actually get to the bottom of understanding these things. Because for all we know, these are actual alien sightings that people are seeing. But we won't know that if we don't do our due diligence to ensure that what we're talking about is justifiable. We always have to work to ensure that we know what the fuck we're talking about. We always have to do our due diligence, not jumping to conclusions, not acting off of confirmation bias just because we want to believe these things so bad. Because then it makes us no better than religious people who assert bullshit that they can't justify at all. And that's the point. What has made us capable of learning and improving upon ourselves is our ability to be objective, our ability to critique ourselves and each other so that we can really get to the bottom of understanding the nature of our reality. Because that is the ultimate aim of us humans, of intelligent life in general. It's to understand. To actually understand, not to make up an understanding, not to assert a baseless understanding, not to just assume you understand, but actually develop a true understanding using reason, logic, fact-based evidence, empathy, and the scientific method. Science, technology, engineering, mathematics, STEM. Actually using these tools to get to the bottom of understanding the nature of our reality. Because otherwise, we're just wasting our fucking time. We're just going to be like those cavemen that didn't know what the fuck was going on. They barely understood how to develop fire. And they're just going around, just living life, not knowing what's going on, barely able to make even the most basic needs get met because they still don't know anything. We're at a point now where we're on the cusp of a knowledge and data explosion. I mean, technically we're already there, but I mean, there's levels to this shit. Wait till we get quantum computing off the ground. Wait till we get fusion energy going. Wait till we actually end corruption in our government. Wait until we actually get a handle on all these ridiculous things that are ruining our world right now, that are ruining our nation, the hyper theocracy, the hyper religiosity that a lot of theists are expressing, the right-wing garbage that's just legislating their sci-fi fantasy bullshit while rejecting reality. Imagine if we actually get everybody in tune with reality, if we're able to get everybody to become knowledgeable, to actually learn and understand, particularly when it comes to science. Because again, there's so much that we just don't know. There's so much. There is so much about our reality that we just plain don't know. And that's why it's incumbent upon us as human beings to do the work to figure this shit the fuck out. Because it's not going to happen by magic. It's not going to happen with hopes and wishes and prayers and thoughts and prayers, prayers and thoughts and prayers. They ain't going to do shit. We actually have to do the hard work of trying to understand science, of trying to understand the laws of physics, of trying to understand the nature of our reality to the best of our ability, so that we can trade that knowledge, and then somebody's brain gets going and somebody else's brain gets going. The wheels start turning and people start making discoveries. They're able to start recognizing patterns that allow us all collectively to better understand the nature of our reality so that we can manipulate that reality to our collective benefit, to develop better tools that help us even better understand reality so that we can actually manipulate it even more effectively and efficiently to our collective benefit, and to create a positive feedback loop of development, developing tools, developing understanding, developing better tools, and developing a better understanding as a result of developing better tools to create a better understanding. That's the point. So here's my thing, right? And this is what makes my channel unique and why I feel like it's actually kind of ludicrous that I don't get views. Because I'm a futurist. I want to actually see our civilization reach that point of becoming spacefaring, of becoming interstellar, interplanetary, intergalactic, intergalactic, intergalactic. I want us to actually get there. So my channel is about the actual practical steps that we can take as a human race for us to actually, factually reach that level where we become masters of the universe, where we can actually overcome all the political corruption, all the ridiculous, ignorant religiosity that we see, so that we can become a spacefaring civilization, so that we can begin to reach our potential as intelligent beings, so that we actually can overcome all these obstacles that plagued us for eons, from actually understanding our reality, so that we can actually begin to finally answer these questions once and for all. How did we get here? Where did we come from? How did the universe form? Is the universe all that there is, or is there more to it? What is the secret of the universe? What is the secret of existence? Are we alone? Is there other life out there? How do we reach them? Is it possible to communicate with them? Are they more advanced than us? Are they less advanced than us? Are we alone actually? Like, is it just us out here? Is it our purpose that we need to seed life? Maybe that's our purpose, that we actually have to seed life all across the universe. That the universe could be our oyster. That despite the fact that there are all these different galaxies and star systems and planets, that there could be so many different factors required for intelligent life to exist, that as crazy as it may sound, it really could just be us all alone out here in this ridiculously, absurdly vast universe. It could be that the people that claim to be seeing UFOs and UAPs are simply experiencing mass hysteria, mass delusion, and that they're actually not seeing the things that they claim that they're seeing. Or that they're misinterpreting actual phenomena that they are seeing because they're jumping to conclusions. All these different things are possible. But the reality is, we just don't know. It could be that, and what I just described is what's called the rare earth hypothesis. That as crazy as it sounds, we could be alone in the universe. Or, even crazier, that we could just be the first. We could be the actual first forms of intelligent life to exist in the universe. Which seems ridiculous. It seems preposterous that how can you have all these planets and stars and quasars and galaxies, and that out of all of them, we here on Earth would be the first. It seems ridiculous, but somebody's got to be first, right? And then, like I said, so then the question becomes, well, then does that mean that one of our goals should be trying to seed the universe? That we should be actively trying to start life in the universe. That's one of our goals, to spread our wings all across this universe so that we actually take it over. Maybe our goal is to what's the word I'm looking for? Maybe our goal is to reverse entropy. Because one of the laws of thermodynamics is that everything eventually, ultimately, leads to chaos, disarray. Because looking at the universe in this expansion, ultimately, if things continue the way that they are, everything is going to expand so much The universe will expand so much that everything will be so far away from each other that you won't be able to see anything. That's the reason why we call it space-time. Because as the old adage goes, timing is everything. We live in a special time where we can understand certain things because we can still see these things. Like those galaxies I talked about, those ancient galaxies. See, this is the mind fuck about it, right? Right now, as of 3:15 p.m. Central Standard Time, June 28, 2023, those galaxies probably don't even exist anymore. Like if we were able to teleport to those specific locations, those galaxies are probably long gone. There could be a void there, or maybe some other phenomena that's there right now as we speak. But because of the amount of time it takes for light to travel to us, we can still see it as it was back in the past. However many light years away it is, that's how we're seeing it. Right? If we were born 1,000,000,000,000 years into the future, we wouldn't be able to see shit. If we were traveling 2 billion years in the past, life on Earth was probably uninhabitable. I'm not entirely sure. I'm not a freaking whatever earthologist or some shit. So I don't know how Earth was. But let's just say Earth was habitable. And we had the James Webb Space Telescope looking. I mean, we'd probably see a lot more different things. If we could go back 10 billion years, probably be able to see even more different things. There's probably things that existed that we'll never be able to detect. Maybe as a result, we'll never get a full picture of the universe due to phenomena that we would never be able to detect because that phenomena doesn't occur anymore as a result of time. Maybe that phenomena could explain, aspects of our reality that we currently don't understand right now. The whole point is that there's so much for us to learn about reality. And if we allowed ourselves to continually develop our capabilities and our technological, scientific understanding, our ability to gain further knowledge and develop our capabilities would constantly multiply. And we'd see a positive impact, a positive feedback loop of development to where we begin to accelerate our development to such a level that we rapidly, exponentially become like gods for real. So, that's why it's so important for us to focus on the data and to respect those that are gathering the data. If you're not an astrophysicist, you shouldn't be talking like you are. And you definitely shouldn't be talking like you know more than actual astrophysicists because you read some dumbass, ancient-ass book. Because that ancient book is not helping you become a scientific expert of any kind. And so that's where we tie religion into this whole thing. The fact of the matter is that religion is one of the main things holding us back from realizing our potential as a human race. It causes people to divorce their logic, to divorce their knowledge, to reject logic and knowledge in favor of hoping and wishing and sci-fi fantasy bullshit. Pretty much like witchcraft. Ancient witchcraft bullshit. Zombie infatuation type shit. The whole dying and resurrecting. If we actually focused on improving ourselves as a human species, death could be a thing of the past. We could become immortal. We could become superhuman, transhuman, better than human. We could become literally like gods. And that would allow us to travel to different planets. And if there is a species of life, of intelligent life, in some galaxy or some star system, or some planet or some moon far away, they would be like gods. They would be able to come here and we wouldn't be able to do shit about it. We would be at their mercy due to our lack of innovation and development. We still have a long way to go. We're barely scratching the surface on what we human beings could become. We're barely scratching the surface on what we human beings can become. And it's really sad to see so many people in our society who seemingly don't want us to reach that level. People who are actively working directly in opposition to our endeavors of improving upon humanity. We are in this weird place where all these goofies are getting so much pub. All these goofies are getting in positions of power and wealth. And somebody like me, who has extensive knowledge on a lot of different things, struggles just to get one person to check me out. Because I can't get the algorithm to actually rock with your boy. To such a degree that I've been on here for over an hour and I've only been talking to myself this entire time. Even though I know for a fact that when I get people watching me, that I can build a fan base and garner a whole lot of discussion, garner a whole lot of interest. It's so fucking weird. Like, if I could do this shit, we could become a spacefaring civilization. If I could be successful doing this shit, we could become a spacefaring civilization. It's that simple. So I'm pretty much done. I'm not talking to nobody's watching me. I think I seen one person hop on for 2 seconds. They didn't hit the like or the subscribe button. So whatever. But I'm gonna still keep talking about this shit. I'm trying to somehow crack this bullshit algorithm because it ain't doing shit for your boy at all. So we'll see what happens. But holla at your fucking boy, man.